Saturn Plebs, today I'm going to be doing a top 5 countdown, side deck options and choices against Monarchs going into this new format, new set with Shining Victories, big events coming up, and hopefully by the end of this video you'll have a decent idea of what the best side cards are that you can put in against Monarchs. So as usual, remember with top 5 lists, this is all very dependent on what deck you're playing, whether you're going first or second, so keep these things in mind, use your own rationality and logic to reorder the list depending on the situation and what deck you play. So number 5, we have generic floodgates and stuff like that. So, you know, as usual, floodgates can completely shut down a deck. Monarchs are no different in this regard because of the fact that they get completely overwhelmed by Restrict or Fog King if you're able to make it. Burning Abyss, for example, very good at making Fog King live. Restrict, pretty much any deck can just throw in restricts. Even in the mirror match, you could probably just do that to just, you know, blow out the game, ideally. So number 5, floodgates. They've gotten a lot worse, and this would be higher up in the list, but because of the fact that Monarchs are now pretty much all the best Monarch decks, I feel, are running extra deck cards. So you're going to be, you know, it's not that great because of the fact that they can make things like Adrius to pop a restrict. They can make Volcasaurus to pop something like Fog King or whatever. Like it's not as good as it used to be, but still very strong. If you're able to stop the rank 5 play, then you're going to protect your floodgate. So floodgates are still very strong, but because of the reasons I've just mentioned, it's not as high up in the list as it once was. So number 4, we have effect negation. Again, this is like any deck can run this. Veilers, breakthrough skill especially is very good. Just being able to stop Aether multiple times on their turn and on your turn. Veiler on the idea can completely shut down a deck. But again, this isn't as relevant as it once was because the deck has now rank 5 access, so being able to stop multiple effects is not going to happen. But if you're stopping something like a Rebus, then chances are your deck is probably going to be in a decent position anyway because that deck is really good. So stopping effects is still important, but again, this isn't higher up the list as it used to be because of the fact that I've just mentioned that rank 5 access means that the deck is going to be less reliant on effects as it once was before, and they're going to be able to have multiple plays, and the deck obviously has a higher ceiling now because of the rank 5 access. Number 3, we have Curse Seal. Now Curse Seal, again, this is probably going to be unplayable if you're running something like Burning Abyss, but for a lot of decks currently, in the mirror match especially, you're going to have a lot of spells, and being able to Curse Seal away something like Stormforth is so clutch. It's absolutely like fantastic to stop something like Curse Seal, like Stormforth, because it means that the best card in the game currently is going to be completely shut off for the rest of the duel. It's going to be live at most points in the game as well because of the fact they will be Stormforthing you multiple times, so it's not like this is the worst card ever if you're in for a grind game. In the mirror match, of course, this can completely blow out the game altogether, like in your favor. So personal favorite of mine, I really like it, but again, this depends on the fact that, you know, can you run that many spells to warrant the validity of playing Curse Seal. Now second, we have Chaos Trap Holes and Scoldings, Warning, that kind of stuff. Mostly for the Chaos Trap Holes because you have essentially multiple warnings. Banishes as well, which means that they're not going to be able to add that card back with a Rebus from the graveyard. Warning in general is a good card against Monarchs, so if you're going first, being able to set multiples of these, if you're still playing Pendulums, you can still search these out. It's a very strong card. Not as strong as it used to be, obviously, because of the rank 5 plays, and if they do like pick up on the fact that you're playing multiple back row, they might go for things like Zenmayo before they like normal summon. Things to take into consideration, but obviously Chaos Chapel, fantastic card, super good because of the fact that it can just completely like end their turn there and then potentially. So it does have a lot of problems. It could be higher up in the list, lower up in the list, depending on what deck you're playing. It's probably like the best card if you're playing Pendulums. You can search out with Ariadne. But in general, I think this is still a very strong card, regardless of the rank 5 engine. And just being able to like shut down a player's deck like for the whole turn, especially in such a fast format, that in itself might be enough to just take the game there and then. And finally, we come to number 1, my absolute favorite, Magic Deflector. Now, of course, again, this does depend on what deck you're playing. It's probably a little bit stronger for Cosmo than it is for something like Pendulums or Burning Abyss, but it shuts down so many key cards. The best card, of course, Stormforth, being able to shut that down is very clutch. It stops the field spell level reduction. It even shuts it off if they're playing Domain Monarchs, if you're relying on the extra deck like Burning Abyss or something. But like I said, they will be running extra deck Monarchs most likely. So it shuts off Stormforth, shuts off the field spell level reduce, shuts off return, so they're not going to be able to keep their engine going and searching out a new Monarch every turn. And finally, if they're playing it, Brilliant Fusion as well means that that card's going to be dead. It just hits so many cards in the Monarch matchup, but obviously the most important is Stormforth. Being able to cut off one of these cards can tip the game almost like directly in your favor. I love this card. It's a little bit slow because of the fact that it's a trap, but the advantage is that literally every single deck can play this. You can run this in the mirror match, you can run this like with Cosmo, you can run this with Burning Abyss. Every deck can play this card, and you know, I think that it's definitely the MVP going forward against Monarchs for this format. So this has been my list, everyone. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. Remember, this is dependent on what deck you're playing, going first or second, so it will change accordingly. This isn't set in stone. Let me know what you think. Is there anything I've missed out or anything that you want me to rearrange or you think should change? If you've watched this far, give me a hashtag Dominion in the comment section. So that's hashtag Dominion if you've watched this far. And finally, some notable shoutouts, I guess. Crush Card Virus, obviously this can't be run by many decks, but it's at 3 now, Burning Abyss, able to run this. Again, it's not the greatest because of the fact that they can add back with a Rebus, but if they have a lot of searched out cards from return, if they have like 2 or 3 Monarchs in the field, sure, being able to add back 1 Monarch with a Rebus is like strong, but you know, being able to just completely like wipe their field and hand potentially is really, really good, especially for the next following turns. It doesn't let up. You know, they're still going to be able to show you their hand and destroy cards as such. Another notable shout out, Dark Hole Raigeki, board wipes in general, Kaiju package for example. These are still very good cards against Monarchs because of the fact that you could potentially shut off their tribute fodder for the turn on your turn when they try to Aether you. If they have multiple big Monarchs out, like a Rebus and Aether and stuff like that, and a Prime, being able to completely wipe that field off, especially if you're playing something like Burning Abyss, is very important. But I just didn't think these cards were going to really make the cut. But depending on your deck, you know, Dark Hole could be like better than like Curse Seal if you're like, for example, playing Burning Abyss. So these are my notable shoutouts. Again, thanks everyone for watching. Hashtag Dominion in the comment section. Let me know what you think, and see you next time.
Come, face me. Give in to your pride. Show me your greatness.